Happy New Year! Well, this is going to be my first video for 2025 and I'm going to do a 2025 property market predictions. Now, first and foremost, disclaimer first, okay? This is of course for your own reference only. Before you make any investment decision, please consult a professional. You may look for me as well, okay, to make sure that you get the correct advice before you purchase anything, okay? So please do not just rely solely on my videos alone. You have to seek for professional advice and to see whether, does everything make sense? What is it specifically that you're looking for? How to calculate the finances and so on and so forth. Please get advice, okay? So right now, of course, let's quickly jump into this. Actually, every single year, I would do this property market prediction. So for this year, of course, it's no difference. So let's quickly start off with the HDB market first, okay? So, based on the latest news in January, we have the HDB resale prices climbing up 2.5% in Q4 of 2024, and overall the whole year is 9.6%. Right, so the bigger question here is that will HDB prices continue to go up? Now, if you look at the quarter-to-quarter changes, you can see that on the extreme right over here, the changes actually kind of accelerated until Q3 before coming down a little bit in Q4. Okay, but of course, we can attribute that maybe it's the school holidays and whatnot, so lesser transactions. So maybe the price growth in Q4 is not so great. But with that being said, it is still quite crazy that in the whole year, it went up by 9.6%. Okay, so if you look at the HDB chart, right, basically, actually, ever since 2020, our HDB market went up by quite a lot, all right? It actually stopped a 7-year decline. Where was the 7 years? The 7 years was since 2013 until 2020, all right? It's a 7 years decline that we first experienced previously before COVID happened. And of course, with the undersupply of the BTOs due to the delays in the construction and so on, due to the manpower crunch caused by COVID, that's why you can see that there is a very sharp spike in the HDB resale prices because many people could not wait for their BTOs to be ready. They went towards the resale market and private market, and that sparked not just HDB market but also private resale as well. So later on we'll talk more about private, but now let's focus on HDB. This is where we saw a continuous 4 years of price growth. So everybody's question on their mind would be that will HDB prices continue to go up? And this is my answer and my prediction. Now, before I go on to my prediction, right, actually back in January 2024, I had a prediction here. Maybe let me zoom in here a little bit more. You can see that right here, I actually predicted that further measures, right, will be implemented to tighten price in 2024 to 2025. It won't be drastic, but guess what? This was in January 2024, and in August 2024, the LTV for HDB loan dropped to 75% from 80%. All right, so that indeed happened. That is one of my so-called this prediction that I made in early 2024. So right now, this year, what is my prediction? Now, my prediction here is that HDB prices to go up in 2025. That's my prediction. All right, and possibly it may peak in early 2026. Now, why do I say so? What is the rationale behind my prediction? So one thing that I look at here is to look at the estimated number of HDB flats that reach MOP. Now, why it is important is because we look at demand versus supply, correct? So it's very important to correlate on the ground what is the sentiments and what would buyers feel when it comes to the supply situation. So if we look at this, right, back in 2022, okay, these are all the MOP years. So because basically you can see that actually the supply situation was pretty high, all right, after COVID, because don't forget, all these were already built before COVID, okay, so COVID didn't affect this batch. So let's think about this, is that even though we had all this high supply, but because a lot of BTOs were delayed and so on, so many people still went to buy resale properties, resale HDBs. So that's why, despite the high supply, HDB prices still went up. So needless to say, in 2023, 2024, the supply of MOP flats went down, which meant that prices would go up even more, right? Because on the ground, you will feel that there are lesser units to buy, and thereby it brings up the price even more. And that's where for 2025, this is where for HDB sellers, good news, because the supply dropped even more. In fact, it's almost, just a little bit more than half of the supply in 2024. Okay, we'll have only 7,400 units MOP in 2025. That will be the lowest MOP supply ever in the history since 2016 until now, as you can see in the chart. So that's why today we could potentially see it bring the HDB market into another new high. Okay, but why do I say that it will peak in 2026? Now, that's very important, right? Because if you look at this chart, you will see that in 2026, the supply starts to go up to 13,000 before going up even more to 23,000 in 2027. So when all these things are happening, you will have to ask yourself this question, is that how fast would it take for the market to react to the increase in supply? It takes time for people to feel on the ground what's going on, right? So it won't be immediate. That's why we call this a lagging indicator, right, lagging indicator. So it means that today the market lags behind what happens on the ground. So let's say if the supply increase, people are not going to feel it immediately. It's going to take maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, right? However long it may take. It takes a while for people to realize that there are more supply in the market. So when that happens, naturally it will soften the pricing. Okay, and of course, towards the end of 2026, we can see it slow down a lot more because by 2027, we have 23,000 MOP units. And then if you look forward a little bit, in 2023, these were the amount of BTOs and sales of balance flat launched. That means the MOP in 2028 would be 22,000. Then, of course, MOP in 2029, all right, will be 21,000. Okay, so this is very important because if you look at the whole chart, you will start to realize that the supply increased tremendously after 2025. So if you're a HDB owner today and you're looking to sell, then you may want to consider, of course, selling between 2025 to 2026. Okay, so naturally, a lot of you may also question, in that case, why not I wait until 2026 law? That means 2025, I don't sell that, very good, right? Let's just hold until 2026. Okay, technically you can, right? Because that would be the best time for you to sell before the prices stabilize. Because between 2027 to 2029, the HDB price will remain stable, which means to say that you're unlikely to see a much more significant growth. All right, but if you look at the market for private properties, then probably you will understand why maybe it is better for you to take action sooner in 2025. All right, we'll come to that very, very quickly. Now then, at the same time also, I have the list of all the HDBs that will obtain MOP in 2025. Okay, so in total, we have about 5,000 over units over here. Okay, so this is not including the sales of balance flats. All right, so these are just purely the BTOs. So that's why it's not super a lot of supply coming up for buyers. Okay, so if you're a HDB buyer, then you got to be careful because in 2025, prices are going to move and you have to take action sooner rather than later if you're thinking of buying. All right, prices are not going to drop in 2025 or 2026. So now let's talk about private home prices. Will it continue to go up? Well, my prediction in January, let me zoom in again. All right, my prediction in January 2024, okay, is that the resale price will gradually increase in 2024, gradually increase. Okay, so true enough, let's look at the charts. Okay, so true enough, basically, this is the article. Private home prices up by 2.3% in Q4, taking the overall gain to 3.9%. Okay, and then if you look at this table over here, so between Q3 and Q4, you can see that there is some percentage changes. Okay, so the most important thing is that we look at the non-landed property, all right? So basically there is an increment of 3.2% in Q4 compared to 0.1% in Q3, so it really picks up more towards the end of the year. Pretty much that is for condos. For landed properties, however, it isn't so great. Landed property actually drop. All right, so let me talk about this very quickly first. For landed market, why is the price dropping? It's because there are way more supply. All right, the supply is higher than the demand. Okay, if you look at the property guru right now, you will see that there's super a lot of landed listings. Buyers seem to have a lot more choices, and the demand for landed is actually waning as well. All right, if you look at the statistics, actually there are increasingly more and more people buying condos more than landed. One of the reasons why is because for landed properties, it comes with a lot of hassle, all right, very troublesome. Number one is, of course, you got a much bigger house to clean up, right? So you probably need more than one helper. You need 2 or 3 helpers. And then you need to take care of your grass patch, your roof, waterproofing, pest control. You don't have an MCST to blame on when things goes wrong. So, there's a lot of issues that people generally feel like maybe it's better to have a condo. And of course, with the facilities and whatnot. So generally, people tend to prefer condos more than landed these days, all right? If you don't believe me, just go and Google. Look at Department of Statistics and you see that the ratio of landed owners to condo owners have really, really decreased by a lot over the years, okay? So now let's look at this, all right? My prediction here is that the price will gradually increase and gain pace, especially in Q3 of 2025. Why? Because today, people are still taking a wait-and-see approach in the market, although it's starting to heat up. I think especially with the recent new launches, like last year, end of year, we had Tuan Park, we have Emerald of Katong, right? This year with the Ori, Alta, and Patong residences, these are going to bring up the market again. But at the same time, it's not going to pick up super fast because then there will still be people who will think that, well, it's okay, let them sell. Wait and see, all right? I will wait for a few more quarters because there are some news, like for example, Morgan Stanley is saying that this year we'll have a major cooling measure. They may cool down the market by 5%. I'll talk more about this later on, but basically, let me tell you why, all right, the prices will continue to gain pace by Q3 of 2025. So, now, in terms of this, right, let's look at the forecast from the media, however, right? Because usually when we look at the news, generally we tend to see more negative news than positive news, okay? Because the news media, generally, in my personal opinion, are usually kind of like the mouthpiece of the government as well. Okay, so they tend to talk more about negative news like market is going to drop, be prudent, and so on. Now, I'm not blaming them. End of the day, here what the government wants is to make sure that people they are prudent in their purchase. They don't rush in to buy. But when the news talk about the market positively, then that is where it's interesting. All right, if we look at this. This is the forecast from Business Times. Okay, so if we look at the article, it is thinking that by 2025, new launch prices, average price will go up. There will be a 3 to 5% growth in terms of the percentage wise, and the volume of sales will also increase. So this is what they predicted for new launch. Sub-sale market, which means just newly TOP projects, right, also will increase by 7 to 9%. Transaction volume will drop a little bit because there are lesser supply actually. Okay, and then for resale, they also expect resale price to go up by 6 to 8%, and the transaction volume also a minor increment from 2 to 4. Now, this is super interesting because when the news think that it's going to be this way, then that is where we have to ask ourselves, why are they allowing this news to be publicized? Okay, and not just Business Times, even Sunday, sorry, this is the Straits Times, but this is Sunday Times, right? Sunday Times. So Sunday Times actually predicted, all right, I know this may be a bit small, let me zoom in again. Okay, so let's look at this. All right, in 2025, property prices are set to climb faster, 4 to 7%. That is the growth percentage that they forecasted. Primary market will introduce more new homes, which will elevate the housing supply, but they still predict that the price will go up. Rental recovery, all right, I'll talk more about this later, but rental recovery will go up as well. And then HDB prices are anticipated to continue their upwards trajectory, although the increase is expected to be slower compared to previous years. So you can see Straits Times, Business Times, every single one is saying that the property prices are going to go up in 2025. Okay, so when the government allows the media to talk like this, something is happening. Right? Why do I say so? Now, this is something that I want to talk about here a little bit. Last year, towards the end of the year, we had Trump Park, Emerald of Katong, and as we know, the sales were crazy, right? Trump Park more than 80% sold, and then Emerald of Katong 99% sold on day one. On the ground, real estate agents were anticipating cooling measures to hit immediately or right after, after the launches, but it did not happen. So it's not that we were trying to scare the consumers, but we were genuinely concerned because when you have Emerald of Katong fetching 2008, 2009 per square foot for a 99-year leasehold in D15, then that begs the question is that why did the government allow this to happen? Wouldn't there be a cooling measure when, we have a project selling 99% on one day? But then when it did not happen, then that begs the question is that, so why? Is there something that we're not seeing? Okay, so my answer here is very simple, is that I believe that the government is deliberately allowing this to happen for a reason, all right? Because they believe that there is still sufficient affordability. So that's the thing that I'm going to go into next. Is the price growth sustainable? Okay, so first thing we look at this. All right, so as of 1st January, our new PM Wong actually mentioned that our economy grew 4% in 2024. Okay, so that means what? That means generally economy was better and people, their spending power also increased. Okay, so now this is a very important chart to look at here. All right, released by Business Times by the end of 2024, is that the domestic liquidity has remained strong. Now they make a comparison between the liquid asset per household on average versus our property price index. So you look at this, right, back in 2014, 10 years ago, all right, the gap was much smaller, although it was widening apart. But now compared to today, the gap between the liquid asset versus the property price index, actually the gap is much bigger than before. And for the government to allow Business Times to publish this kind of news, what does this show you? It means that the government is very, very confident. Very, very confident. Why? Because Singaporeans are technically on the whole getting richer and richer. So therefore, there is no worries about affordability. Right? And at the same time, inflation actually went down. Right? Core inflation generally went down over the last 3 years. So in terms of this, it means what? It means that things are generally more affordable than before. Prices are not going up by much. So that's where, if you think about this, that means what? People are having more money, while things are generally not getting more expensive. So that means that we have more spare cash to invest, not just in property, but in many other things else. So I think, this is the perfect timing as well for a lot of property investors, because if you see what we see here, you will start to see that there is no way property prices won't go up because the sustainability is there, the affordability is there, and thereby the government is not in a rush to throw in a cooling measure because they know that, the market can support the price increase, right? And anyway, it's not a bad thing for the government as well for price to increase because, they get more tax returns, right? But of course, it's not in their interest. I say here, it's not in the government interest to see the market go up by too fast as well, right? The key thing that what the government wants is sustainable price growth. The keyword here is sustainable, okay? So they will allow the price to go up, but the moment it senses that it's running too fast, all right, cooling measures comes in. not to kill the market, not to crash the market, but to maintain and keep it sustainable. Right? I'll go through even more on this later on. So stay on. I will share more about cooling measures. Right? I will talk about what are the potential cooling measures, if any, that will come out in 2025. So then let's talk about interest rates. Okay, so as we can see from the news report, US Fed lowered rates. All right, but they signal caution. In fact, at the beginning, they mentioned that there will be a slower pace of cuts. Okay, so to me, all right, of course, interest rate, we know that it will continue to fall in 2025 at a slower pace. Now, in my personal opinion, this is good news for property investors. Very, very good news. Why? Normally, laymen, all right, the normal layman would think that today, I think it's better if the interest rates drop faster because I benefit, right? When interest rate drops sooner, I can buy and my installment will become cheaper. But smart and savvy investors will know that is not a good thing to have, because when interest rates drop too fast, it will encourage too many buyers to jump in and buy, and therefore it will push the property prices up by too fast. So it is not a good thing for interest rate to go down too fast. All right, it's actually better if it goes up slowly. Why? Because then there will be a group of people, in fact, a lot of people, all right, will wait for the interest rate to drop further before they buy. So for you, then you come in first. You buy the bullet by paying a little bit more in terms of the interest rate. It's fine, all right, but you can buy property at a cheaper and lower price because the interest rate haven't bottomed down yet. All right, it haven't gone down to the rock bottom yet. So you can therefore buy cheaper. Later on, as the interest rate drop even more, property price will push up and you will have a paper gain already. Okay, so that's why this to me is good news for property investors. Buy sooner before the interest rate drop more later on. All right, so this gives you more confidence that today it is a good time to enter earlier. Right, and then now let's talk about home rentals. Okay, so actually back in January 2024, I predicted that the rental market will rebound by the end of 2024, even though in the early start of the year it was easing. So that was my prediction. Okay, and what is happening now? Look at this. Isn't it eerie? What I predicted came true. Residential rents climbed in November. Okay, so it is exactly what I predicted. I said that it will rebound by end of 2024. All right, so I'm not trying to prove a point here, but I'm just letting you guys know that with sufficient experience and insights, it is possible for us to predict the market. Okay, so that is why I'm confident to sit down here and share with you my predictions. Not because I am psychic or whatever, I don't have a crystal ball per se, but I am able to determine the data and see what the data tells me. All right, I can analyze for you and tell you it may not be 100% accurate all the time, but at least the general sensing is more or less there. Okay, so my sensing for the home rentals recovery, all right, is that rental rates to increase slowly in 2025, peak in 2026, and then face a potential decline in 2027. Now this is very, very detailed, all right, but look, this is what I foresee because I look at a public data that you can also find, but it's just that maybe you don't know where to find. If you go to URA website, if you know where to find, you will find this chart, which is the pipeline supply of private residential units and ECs, okay? But of course, the main focus we're talking about is private condos here. So this is the supply chart of what? Of the TOP, all right, units per year. TOP units per year. So let's think about this. The moment the TOP means what? It means that this will come into the rental and resale market. Right, rental and resale market, because they have obtained their TOP. So according to my prediction, is that of course rental rate this year is a little higher, okay, and then by 2026 it will slow down a little bit, and then 2027 it will come to a bit more of a standstill or decline. Okay, so if you look at this chart, by the way, I need to emphasize that in 2024, okay, because this is the fourth quarter chart, alright, this is the latest chart. Okay, fourth quarter alone is 3,000 units completed. So if we have to look back at the whole year, there was another 5,000 units that was completed in the first 3 quarters of 2024, making it roughly about 9,000 units in the whole of 2024 completed. So 9,000, it means that the chart is supposed to be a bit higher, all right? So 9,000, coming to 2025, supply drop. When the supply drop means what? It means that there's lesser new supply. So that means that the rental price will go up. All right, now in 2026, remember what I said about lagging indicator early on? So 2026, although the supply increased, but the price will still go up, just that it will start to wane and slow down. Okay, and then reaching 2027, as people start to realize that there's more and more supply, then that's where it could either stagnate or come down in terms of the pricing. All right, so if you understand what I'm saying here, then today landlords, all right, landlords, I'm speaking to you now. It's very important that you know the strategy moving forward. So if the rental rate is going to be higher in 2026, what should you do? Should you sign a 1-year lease or 2-year lease for new rentals in 2025? I'm sure you know by now, right? The answer is 1 year. Take 1 year. Because in 2026, you can expect a bit more higher. So take 1 year, next year increase. It's okay, just take the 1 year. Okay? If Then by then, if you renew in 2026, don't renew by 1 year, renew by 2 years, right? Because in 2027, potentially it may drop. Okay, so that's why in terms of this, see, this is how important it is to have someone who can read this for you, because now I have saved you so much time on your research and I have helped you probably make a bit more money on your rental as well, right? So that is the value I'm adding to you here. So this is how we determine the rental market. Okay, so it will increase in 2025, increase a little bit but slower in 2026 and decline or stagnate in 2027. Okay, so today, of course, you may be questioning as well, where is the demand coming from? All right, the demand is coming from, number one, is the increase in population. Why? Okay, this is very important. Now, when you look at the demand from the population, this is the comparison between June 2022 to June 2024 in 2 years' time. General population increased by about 400,000. Okay, so you can understand why, all right, this is crazy, about 400,000. And then if we break it down into the residents, all right, the PR and citizens, okay, it increased by about 110,000. Okay, so these are the people who need homes in Singapore. Okay, so why in the first place do we need to increase by so much population? Now, of course, people always say that Singapore do not have natural resources. So our key resource is usually people. That's not wrong, all right? We need to introduce more people to work in Singapore. But the bigger picture that a lot of people do not see is that we have an aging population. All right, so now this is actually the chart of our resident population makeup. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys here. Is that currently right now, the main bulk, all right, if you see this is a diamond shape. So when you see a diamond shape, it means that majority of the population is aged around the middle ages. All right, you can see a lot is the late 30s to late 60s. All right, this is the main bulk of the population. Now, can you imagine if we don't introduce more new population, then this diamond shape is going to become what? It's going to become a inverted triangle. When you see inverted triangle, what does it mean? It means that there are too little young people, too many old people, right? So when this happens, actually Elon Musk recently had already mentioned that Singapore is going to face a population collapse if this goes on, which means that the economy will collapse, the GDP will drop by a lot. Why? Because of this aging population scenario. So that's the reason why for the government, they have to continually maintain the workforce to be young and hungry and motivated to make sure that we have enough young population to sustain the population as per a diamond at the moment. It cannot be an inverted triangle. Okay, so if you understand this point, then you will understand that it's inevitable that we have to continue to increase our population. So let me zoom in a little bit more on this. All right, so if you look at this projected population growth, okay, I'm gonna zoom in here. Okay, let me just adjust this. Okay, so simply put, all right, our target, okay, based on the population white paper, is actually 6.9 million population by 2030. So right now we are at 6 million, so we are just about 500,000 to 900,000 more to go. Okay, so right now, if you look at the figures, okay, we are actually not too far off in terms of the numbers. Okay, the ideal target to hit citizens, we need to hit another 200k more. PRs, we need to hit another 100k more. Okay, so that's 300,000 more people that we are expecting until 2030 at least. Average household size, based on the recent estimates, about 3.1 per household. So which means we need about 96,000 more new homes. All right, so you can expect an increase in supply gradually over the next 2 years. But then the question is that can the government roll out enough housing in time? All right, that's number one. Number two, more interestingly, non-residents. All right, today the non-residents, if I see here, is 1.86. All right, 1.86. The target to hit minimum is 2.3 to 2.5. That is the non-residents, means these are your workers, your workforce. All right, so the workforce, non-residents, we need 500,000 more. When that happens, it means what? It means that rental demand will increase. Rental demand will definitely go up because 500,000 more population, right? So that's why today for investors, I believe that there will be more investment-centric homes that will be built, and thereby for a lot of investors, for landlords, this is good news because that means that you will have more demand for rental. That's why for people who buy new launches, right, they always ask, who will buy from me next time? Who will rent from me next time? Well, the answer is all in this slide over here, okay? I believe now you can see a full and clearer picture now. Secondly, of course, where's the demand coming from? All right, you need to understand the demographic have shifted so much from before. There is more and more, there are more and more singles, more and more small families. So the latest data I can get from SingStats is actually up to 2023, maybe because the end of the year for last year, they have yet to compile finish the whole 2024 data, right? Maybe in the next few months we'll see it. But for now, even if I based on just comparison between 2013 to 2023, right? Blue color is 2013, the beige color is 2023. So let's look at this, all right? Married couple with children have decreased. Married couple without children, obviously, then increase. Lone parent went down, right? And then living alone went up. Others went up. I don't know what the others lah. Okay, but basically, in short, what this means is that last time, back in the older days, right, people used to stay with their grandparents, their parents, 3 generations or even 4 generations in one house. But over the years, naturally, there are more and more couples moving out. So just by that alone, right, one house become 2 house. If your family come with siblings, it becomes one house become 3, 4 houses. Why? Because everybody get married and move out. All right. So naturally, that would mean that the demand for housing would really go up. Then there are more and more couples without children, so they're looking for smaller units. Right? Singles going for smaller units. So that's why developers they are building more 2 bedrooms. The funny thing is that they actually build lesser 1 bedroom these days. They are focusing more on 2 bed because even the singles, right, they will want to have a 2 bedroom. 1 bedroom for themselves and another as a home office. So COVID have also influenced a lot of people in their thinking process, is that they want a home office. I see people who buy 4 bedroom even though they only need 3 because 1 bedroom will be used as a home office. So that is the new trend nowadays, all right? So that naturally spill over into the demands whereby people need way more units than what they used to. All right, so the next thing that I'll be talking about here is a potential cooling measure. Okay, now I am certain that there will be 1 or 2 cooling measure in 2025 because as the price continue to go up, the government will surely do something about it, okay? Because it's not in their interest to see the market go up but too fast. They will just monitor and see if the growth is getting a little bit too fast, gaining too much pace, they will slow it down, but they will not crash the market. But we need to understand this, all right? What are the potential cooling measures that may happen? First one here is that SSD, all right, seller stamp duty. It could be revised from 3 years to 4 years. Okay, in fact, actually before 2017, it used to be 4 years. So if you bought a property before 2017, your SSD was 4 years. They relaxed the measure in 2017. Okay, and then LTV last adjusted on the 6th of July 2018 from 80% loan to 75. So my forecast is that it may also drop down to 70%. All right, another measure that they may tweak is TDSR from 55% to 50%, but this was last tweaked in 2022. Okay, so basically, I don't see that the government will do this, so it is not so likely. And buyer stamp duty, this was adjusted in 2021, so I'm also not too sure whether will they do this as well. So that's why I am ranking this accordingly to my, so-called prediction. I may be wrong, but I personally feel that the SSD and the LTV, the top 2 definitely would be, the more likely choices. Okay, so let's see if it happens. But the more important thing for you here, as a buyer today, is that how does this impact you? And does that mean that, you should wait for this to happen so that you can buy cheaper? All right, let's look at this chart over here now. This is a very big, long chart, so I'm going to zoom in again. I'm going to put myself in the middle, okay? So the key thing you need to understand here is this. When we zoom in, we will see that these are the cooling measures that actually happened before. So for example, revision of seller stamp duty from 3 years to 4 years, it actually happened before. All right, this was back in what? Back in 2011, okay, back in 2011. So you can see that before this, right, the SSD was actually 3 years, okay, and then it actually went up, all right? It went up to 4 years in 2011. But look at the pricing. SSD went up from 3 to 4 years, but the price still continued to go up. Okay, and then let's look at the next one. Is this on my right over here? LTV was lowered from 80% to 75%. All right, so this was actually in 2018. Okay, now of course it did manage to slow down the price lah. Okay, so in terms of this, the price generally slowed down, but it's still an uptrend. It did not make the market crash. It did not cause the price to drop. All right, generally the price still went up. Then we look at this, okay, the next one here. TDSR was lowered from 60% to 55%. All right, this was in 2021. 2021. Okay, so basically in terms of this, right, you can see that when this happened, property price still went up, right, even though the TDSR was lowered. Buyer stamp duty adjusted in 2022. Pardon me, I got it, wrong the other way around. All right, I said that TDSR was 22 and BSD was 21, so I got that swap. All right, but anyway, BSD 2022. Increase in BSD does not make the price drop. All right, property prices still went up since 2022 until now. Okay, so all this I hope you can see very clearly why, when I say that cooling measures are not going to make the market drop, it's evident, right? And the main reason why is actually very simple. It's because of undersupply. All right, undersupply. But what is the impact for you as a buyer? If the cooling measures doesn't stop the price from going up, what will affect you, however, is that today, unless today you're ultra rich or you can pay for property mostly with a lot of full cash, CPF and whatnot, and you're not affected by loan, you're not affected by, the cash outlay needed, then great. But today, if you need to take a loan, right? If the LTV dropped from 75% to 70%, you have to fork out 5% extra in terms of your cash and CPF. If they actually also reduce the seller stamp duty from 3 years, or they increase, sorry, not reduce, they increase the seller stamp duty from 3 years to 4 years, what it means is that you also have to wait longer for your investment returns. So in a way, it's not like that ideal, because that means what? That means likelihood after TOP, you need to rent out for a year or two, right? It means that you will incur more costs as well. You will incur your property taxes, your maintenance fees, your loan installments will fully kick in and so on. So what will affect you is that today, maybe you could have gone for a 3-bedroom, right, based on the amount of down payment that you have. But if the cooling measure comes in, it could mean that initially what you could buy was a 3-bed, but now because of the extra outlay that you have to fork out because of the cooling measures, then you might end up going for a 2-bedroom instead of a 3-bed. Okay, so that's where today I do not want consumers to fall into this trap whereby you miss out on the market because of cooling measures. Right? Can you imagine like having to downsize your choices just because your outlay was affected by the cooling measures? All right, that's not what I want to happen to you. Right, to add on a little bit more, of course, there are also the consumer behavior outlook. All right, so HDB upgraders, in my personal opinions, they will be more encouraged to take action in 2025. Right? Why? Because the starting price will be very attractive. That's one. Secondly, of course, it may also be FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Because why? Because the private market will be moving. So there will be a lot of movement in the market that will make people feel like, hey, am I missing out? Maybe I should jump in. Maybe I should go into the market today. Okay, at the same time, of course, lower interest rates will also allow more first-timers to enter the market, because maybe back then they were thinking that the installment is too, tall for them, right? But now they are more encouraged to come in with the lower interest rates. So then, at the same time, also, the pre-GFA project will be starting out, right? In case if you don't know of GFA harmonization, maybe you should search up on that. But I think in short, basically, it means that aircon ledges are no longer part of the floor area for all the upcoming new launches. So the developers are also not, going to build any more airspace, all right, in the top floor unit as well. So those are the new projects with GFA harmonization. But the pre-GFA, that means prior to this new ruling, right, those batches will be selling out. So once they are gone, then more consumers will come to accept that the upcoming new launches, they are all with the new GFA harmonization. Now, what is the impact on this? Is that generally, because the developers take out the aircon ledge from the floor plan, right? That means it's not part of the floor area. And then in terms of the high ceiling, they are not building it anymore. So developers' profit margin generally become lower. So what does it mean? It means that something will go up, which is the PSF. Right? The PSF will be higher, the size will be smaller. Right? Although there may be some developers who will do it the other way around, is that they will try to make it size actually even bigger than before. Now, this is something that we are seeing actually in Nava Grove. And if I'm not wrong, Parktown residents, they will adopt the same strategy as well. Is that instead of doing it such that the size is smaller because of the aircon ledge is taken out, they increase the interior size instead, so that the PSF remain either the same or lower. So that on paper, this will actually be more attractive. But this will relate to the quantum. That means the quantum will actually be higher still. Alright, so this is very important to know, because if you don't know this, then you'll be very shocked. How come the PSF so high in some projects? Or how come the quantum so high in some projects? It's all because of this thing called GFA harmonization. Now, this will means what? This will mean that there will be a ripple effect on the resale market as well. Why? Because resale market generally, right, you will see that the PSF for new launches is so high. Then as a resale seller, wouldn't I also want to actually increase my price as well? Right? So resale market will have a ripple effect, and that's why today I say, right, if you're a HDB seller, please do not wait until 2026 to sell and upgrade. It may be too late for you by then. So very quickly, I just want to run through with you, right? You might be wondering, in 2025, where are the opportunities in the market? Okay, so I'm going to very quickly run through here. Of course, if you want more information, you could always DM me. As of right now, as this video is being recorded, the Toa Payoh project, the Ori, is launched. Same for Bucknell House as well. Okay, so these two are currently launching at the moment, together with Aura of Tampines as well. This is EC. All these three are in the market. Then upcoming, this is not in order of sequence, but likely, what will be launched in the first quarter of this year. W Residences, right? This is a 99 years leasehold that is in the Marina area, of course, very near to Asia Square. This will be a very high-end project because it's a branded residence, right? It's under the W group, okay, like the W Hotel and so on. So this will not be cheap. I forecast this to be in way excess of $4,000 per square foot. Okay, we have the Golden Mile complex, which is by far is, of course, this will be the revamp of the Golden Mile. The residential will be called Aurea. Okay, it's a 99 year leasehold as well, and I expect this to be in excess more than $3,000 over per square foot. Okay, so this is not something that is very cheap or low price. Then Parktown Residence, I'm very much looking forward to this one. Alright, this is a mixed development with shops and supermarket, integrated transport hub below and so on, all right, with a new Cross Island Line MRT station as well. So this is going to be very, very interesting. All right, so look out for this. This rumor is that it will be launched right after Chinese New Year. So look out for this, okay? And then there is Marina Gardens Lane. All right, this is very, very interesting because this is the first ever new launch that is right behind Gardens by the Bay and Marina Bay Sands. So this is a 99 years leasehold and the developer is actually Kingsford, all right? And then we have Arena East. This is a small development freehold, all right, in Tanjong Rhu that is very near Katong Park MRT station. So this will be an interesting one. And we also have Alta, okay, and this is in Clementi area, so West Siders rejoice. Clementi traditionally have very, very high demand. If you look at the resale there, the Clement Canopy, there's a Park Clementi's, there's Clevon. All of these are very, very popular, all right? So in fact, resale have already crossed $2,003 per square foot at Park Clementi's for a 4-bedroom resale. So that's why for a brand new over there, all right, if this were to be selling around 2004, 2005, I think it is actually a very safe buy, all right? So that is for Alta. And then we have in One North area, Bloomsbury Residences. All right, this is 99 years leasehold. I think this will be good as well. 300 over units. Very, very good. All right, to give more, I would say, supply to the rental demand in One North. Then we have Orchard Boulevard. 99 years leasehold as well. All right, this will be by UOL. It is very, very prestigiously prime. Location in terms of the so-called convenience one is right behind Orchard Boulevard MRT station, right behind Tanglin Mall, right next to Camden Medical. So this will be very interesting for CCR buyers as well. Okay, and we also have a Plantation Close. This is EC in the Tengah area. Okay, so this will be very popular, I'm sure. Okay, by Hoi Hub. And of course, I have a very big list over here. Okay, I'm not going to, go through one by one, but the ones that I highlighted in yellow, those are the mass market launches. All right, so in total, around 8,000 over units out of a total of 15,000 for the whole year. And then we will see as well for 2025, core central region. All right, there will be a lot of supply in the CCR. Okay, high-end projects over here. So this is where I estimated it will be about 6,100 units, all right, in this list, okay, for 2025. So this is very interesting because you can see, like, for example, we'll have like Zion Road, Holland Drive, right, River Green, and so on. You'll see that there's a lot of units being built along the Great World City area. So this will be very, very interesting. If you're a buyer or upgrader looking to upgrade into the core central region, there could be a lot of opportunities for you. Especially because for the CCR, typically, at that kind of price point, right, we don't expect it to move super fast. But yet, at the same time, there are so many units. So developers will be more sensitive in terms of the pricing. I don't think they will be so gung-ho to price it crazily high, especially in today's market where there are pretty much very, very little foreigners buying. So developers will have to shift the way how they sell, all right? They have to sell this more to, I would say, the local market, all right? So that's why in terms of the development type, you're going to see very, very different kind of developments that are coming up in these areas, okay? So, but however, with that being said, please do not forget that there are still existing supply in the market today. I think this is the list that you can try and refer to, of course. Continuum, Grand Diamond, Mega Blue in D15, Nava Grove and Pine Tree Hill in the west side. There's Chuan Park as well. Lentor area, we still have Hillock Green, Lentor Mansion, Lentoria. In the far, far west, we have Sora and Lake Garden Residences. In the prime areas, before Orchard Boulevard is up, you can look at Cascadian Reserve and 19 Nasim, right? And then One North area, before the new one at One North comes up, there is still units at the hill at One North. Arcade in Boon Keng, this is a freehold development as well. That's in the fringe of the city area. There's one Burnham, but as of now that we're speaking, units are moving very fast because of a recent CNY promo. All right, apparently so many units are taken up that we're left with like level 30 something, and most of the stacks are fully sold. Then we have Terra Hill, which is a freehold in Pasir Panjang. We have 88BT, which is actually a leasehold development in Beauty World, and it is right opposite the new integrated transport hub. Okay, so these are the developments that currently still exist and still have some stocks and supply. But of course, the important thing is to ascertain whether there's still value buys. Would it be dangerous to enter into these developments when they have been launched for a while? If you have this question, please feel free to DM me and I will share with you in person how to analyze these projects. So with that being said, of course, this is the end of my 2025 predictions. I hope you have learned and gained so much insights into the market for this year. I know it has been a very long video, very long episode here, but I thank you for staying all the way through here. And of course, if you have more questions that you want to ask me, simply DM me, all right? And my Instagram handle is my name, Ceekay So, all right? So you guys can look for me up on Instagram, DM me, and I will get in touch with you in person. At the same time, don't forget to also like, subscribe, and follow my channel for more real estate videos. This year, I'm going to share with you a lot more insights, especially on the high-end, the core central region projects that are coming up, because there's so many units, right? And I think it is not common for people to analyze high-end developments And that is what I'm going to do for 2025, so that more of you can understand whether it is a suitable opportunity for you to invest in the CCR for 2025. So I can't wait to share with you more. I'll see you in my next video. Take care.